Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at noon starts now.
Hoping to have his murder charge thrown out, a hearing underway right now for a former Grand Rapids police officer charged with killing Patrick Lyoya during a traffic stop last year. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for Local 4 News at noon. I'm Karen Drew.
And I'm Rhonda Walker. The Michigan Appeals Court is hearing arguments in the case against Christopher Schur. He was ordered to stand trial earlier this year, but as Megan Woods reports, his attorneys are hoping to reverse the ruling. Megan, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Rhonda, Karen. So this morning we heard arguments from Christopher Schur's attorney about why he shouldn't stand trial for second-degree murder. We also heard a rebuttal from the Kent County Prosecutor's Office. Now, during a traffic stop back in April 22, just to give you some background, Christopher Schur shot and killed Patrick Lyoya. Schur was then charged with second-degree murder and fired from Grand Rapids Police Department. Last October, a district court judge ruled there was enough probable cause to send this case to trial. But Schur's attorneys appealed that. It was denied earlier this year. They then took their request to the Michigan Court of Appeals, and that brings us to today. The former officer's attorney argued that the traffic stop was lawful, the arrest was lawful, and it was self-defense, while the prosecutor's office disagrees and believes that is why this case needs to go to trial.
The district court, and this was affirmed by the circuit court, only looked at the instant the shot was fired. And there is absolutely no case law, even in Doss, that doesn't consider the totality of the circumstances. At some point, the officer has some constitutional rights too.
And Mr. Borgula stepped up here and he argued many facts that would show this is reasonable. And that's exactly what Doss says, that we have to submit this to a jury when there's conflicting evidence about the reasonableness of someone's actions with respect to self-defense.
Now that the Court of Appeals has heard both sides of this argument, it's no time frame. There's no time frame on when they can get back on a decision. So now we just have to sit and wait. Reporting live in Detroit, I'm Megan Woods, Local 4.
All right, Megan, thank you. State police are on the hunt after someone shot at several patrol cars and set these vehicles on fire in the Upper Peninsula in Sault Ste. Marie. They are looking for a man in camouflage, armed with a rifle and driving a silver Honda CR-V. State police are sharing these security images with us of the suspected gunman. Michigan State Police are asking the public and media to stay clear of state police posts until the further notice. No troopers were hurt. Thank goodness for that. The former Macomb County Public Works Commissioner Anthony Morocco is now free after a short federal prison visit.
Morocco was found guilty in a corruption case. He was found guilty of extortion by withholding county permits to businessmen who refused to contribute to his campaign. As part of his sentence, he was not allowed to use the internet or to have guests who are not pre-approved. Morocco will now start paying $50,000 in fines, with the first payment starting next Friday. Prosecution could wrap up its case today against the three men charged in the plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Three more witnesses are expected for the state. Eric Molitor and twin brothers Michael and William Knoll are charged with providing material support for a terrorist act and weapons charges. After a month-long recess, Senate is back in session. Lawmakers already have their work cut out for them. At the top of their agenda is avoiding a government shutdown before the end of this month.
Well, state leaders are also calling for action, including Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who is back after recent health scares. NBC's Bree Jackson has the latest from Washington.
The battle over funding the federal government comes as FEMA is running low on money following multiple natural disasters. The Senate is back in session, and lawmakers are already racing the clock.
Democrats and Republicans all must get on the same page about keeping the government open and avoiding a pointless shutdown.
The U.S. government will shut down at midnight on September 30th if Congress fails to pass a spending bill. Divisions over disaster relief funding and aid for Ukraine remain.
We need to continue to invest in America's defense industrial base, both to support our partners in today's fight and to help our forces deter tomorrow's threats.
Some far-right Republicans are pushing to attach conditions, including an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. Another concern is Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's health. He appeared to freeze for the second time in recent months.
I assure you, August was a busy and productive month for me and my staff back in the Commonwealth.
A Capitol physician ruled out the possibility McConnell experienced a stroke. Some Senate Republicans stood by their leader. Others expressed doubt.
That doesn't mean it's incapacitating, doesn't mean he can't serve, but it means that somebody ought to wake up and say, wow, this looks like a seizure.
Let's just move forward, hoping that, he's in a good spot.
The House does not return to Capitol Hill until next week, so Congress must act fast to reach a deal to avoid a government shutdown. The White House and leaders of both chambers say that they would support a short-term measure in order to keep the federal government running. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
At least 16 people were killed. Dozens were wounded today when Russian shelling struck a market in a city in eastern Ukraine.
As crews search the rubble for any trapped civilians, they say at least 28 people were wounded. At least 20 shops, an administrative building, and the floor of an apartment building were damaged. The deadly attack came as Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited Kyiv and was expected to announce more than $1 billion in new funding from the United States. Coronavirus cases are on the rise as fall approaches, but an increase in in-home testing, the data has become more and more difficult to track. The number of COVID hospitalizations has continued to rise since hitting an all-time low in June, and deaths have increased slightly since then. Experts still suggest masking, getting tested if exposed or symptomatic, and staying up to date on vaccines as primary means to combat the virus. The FDA and CDC are expected to approve new COVID boosters in the coming weeks.
Well, U.S. safety regulators are taking a big step today toward forcing a recall of 52 million airbag inflators. The National Highway Safety Traffic Administration yesterday said the parts are defective and have scheduled a public hearing. The inflators are made by ARC Automotive, which has so far refused to issue a full-scale recall. The company says the safety agency has no authority to order a parts manufacturer to announce recalls. Regulators say the inflators are responsible for 2 deaths in the U.S. and Canada since 2009.
Time to talk about the weather, and sitting in the 70s right now, so not too oppressive. Pretty nice out.
Compared to the past few days, we'll take it.
Yeah, so the rain showers that rolled through late this morning helped keep those temperatures at bay a little bit. And this is all ahead of a cold front that'll bring even further relief as we go into the rest of the work week. You can see those cooler 60s behind it. That low pressure just creeping into the upper peninsula right now, but we have the showers that have developed ahead of that front. And there were a lot of lightning strikes that pushed through Kalamazoo, Lansing, but the lightning is kind of weakened as it pushed into southeastern Michigan, which is good news for us, but we are dealing with some of those rain showers. So let's go ahead and take a closer look with ExactTrack 4D, give you more street level view of what we're tracking. A lot of this right now impacting Oakland, Washtenaw, Livingston counties. We'll zoom in even closer to the Novi area where the bulk of the heavy rain is north of 96 up towards Walled Lake, but this does drape portions of I-275 where that intersects with 96 and 696. You go a little farther south of there, this trickles down into Northville, probably closer to about 7-8 Mile. Also impacting portions of Plymouth at 5 Mile and Beck and off towards South Lyon as well. We're going to jump on over here and you can see even portions of Livonia closer to that I-96 corridor, and Stark is where we have some of the rain showers coming down, and even off towards Dixboro, Barton Hills, off into Washtenaw County. So as we take a live look outside, winds have been picking up a little bit. We're in the 70s at this hour, but throughout the afternoon, we're tracking more shower and storm chances. Topping out the low 80s today, but we'll take you through the timeline of the storms coming up in just a few minutes. And if you're going to be on the go later on this afternoon, not only can you track radar in the palm of your hand, but if you have our Forewarn weather app, you'll get push alerts when rain has been detected close to your location.